we do. And that's great. So yeah, we're going to be talking about AutoPilot today, part of the Commander series for TriggerCharts that you can get, and many of you have, of course, through Tradestation. By the way, thanks for all the email. I got a lot of great emails from people who have been using the Commander series and making some nice money from it. So that's always good to hear, because that's the whole, really, at the end of the day, that's the whole purpose of all this, right? So like I said, we're going to record this because we're going to make sure that you understand some of the things that are happening. This is not available just yet on the Trading App Store. It is going to become available very soon. I want to take you through some of the differences and also at the same time the similarities of what we have. This will be an add-on to your current Commander series. It will, one of these days when it does get up there and we have it launched, it will just be a replacement for what you have now as you see your current workspace with Tradestation. Now we're going to talk about alerts, some discussion about alerts on charts on RadarScreen. A lot of people have some questions. How do I make these alerts work? How can I turn them off? And what we're going to do here is go through just a couple of the quick and easy ways to look at how you do that. We're also going to talk about the multiple time frame on how that looks different from what you've seen now with the RadarScreen for AutoPilot. Also, single versus multi-time frame, when you want to use one versus the other, where the benefits are, some of the settings that you want to look at, and also the ability to enhance your trading experience with the use of this. So what you know is that with Commander Series, you have right now there is an AutoPilot, there's radar, and there is altimeter, and there's also this RadarScreen. Now we're going to focus again on the whole idea of utilizing AutoPilot, and that is simply dependent on your settings, the ability to look for, search, and find out very quickly whether there's a long candidate, short candidate, whether you should be in something, out something, and dependent on the time frames that we're looking at as well. So what you're seeing right now, what you're seeing in this particular slide on the bottom part is that you have the same color coding. So you have green is long, you have yellow as an alert to be either looking for entering a long or a short position. A red is a short, and that's a confirmed short. An orange is an exit. One of the most important things that we have in trading is to find the place to not only enter, but also to exit. Very important. And that shows up in orange. And then what we also have here is the number of bars. So if you look, for example, at the first column where it says GMCR, Green Mountain Coffee, active, that means it's active. The calculation has been made, and you can be assured that the signal is what the signal is. It's been long for 18 bars. And I'll explain what the number of bars means in a second and the signals, but basically you're saying that long for 18 bars. This happens to be a 30-minute bar that we're looking at. Now, some of the things you need to know is some of the settings. So when we look at the settings for this, it's a little bit different than you've seen before. And let me highlight some of these. Let me kind of get my little drawing tools out here and look at this. So you have some of the same ones that you've seen before and that you used to, right? So you have the minimum signals and the length and the scope and things of that nature. These are all the same on the top. How much the percent for the stop ATR is, and if you're going to do a stop on touch or not. Now, this is where it gets different. It's very important to know. First of all, first rule is that this is defaulted, and this is the way it's going to stay, to a lowest time frame possible is 30 minutes. All of the interval choices that you have inside of the RadarScreen need to be set to 30 minutes. That will come that way by default. You'll have 30 minutes on there as the default setting. The next one you have is a choice. Well, how many minutes do you want? Right now you have anything above that, it's all okay. You have a 60-minute, we have 240-minute, and we have daily, weekly. But you may want to have, instead of a 240-minute, maybe you want to have a 120-minute. Maybe you want to have a 480-minute. There's certain limitations to this because of the way that we're building the back end of this, but basically what you're seeing here is the ability to have a 30-minute, the lowest common denominator that we have, and then a 60-minute, a 240-minute. So 3 different minute bars plus a daily and a weekly is available. So you're going to get all of those and much different than you see before, okay? And as you know, for those of you that don't know this, there's, of course, a 10-day free trial that is available. So let's take a look, though, at for a moment, let's kind of go way back and take a look at what we had seen prior in the Commander series. So what you're seeing right now is the Commander series. This is what you would get basically right off the shelf when you download it directly from Tradestation, and it's sitting on your system. On the left-hand side over here, what we have is a daily list of stocks. Of course, on the bottom we can see there's stocks, futures. Okay, let me get my little pointer out here. I'll do a pen. We have stocks, we have futures, we have Forex, okay, the multiple time frames. We have the whole list here. Starts out with a daily on the top block, and then as you go down, it's going to go down to 60, etc. And the only way that we could really have done this before is to have it like this, whereas you have it all separated. Now, you could do something, for example, as we did just to set it up very easily, looking at multiple time frames. Okay, so when you looked at this, we could put in, for example, all of the different levels of 30, 60, 240, and you have the same symbol. So it was vertical. You'd have to see things vertically. So we have 30, 60, 240 daily, weekly, and maybe even a monthly, okay? And that correlated to the right side, which is the chart, okay? So when you click Apple over here, Apple would come up, and we'd see that we'd have the daily and the weekly. Now, when we looked at that, that was something that we put in there because really there weren't not many choices. There really were not ways in which that we could really find the ability to have a look at this that was much different because of the limitations of Tradestation. And they know it. We talked to them about it, but we were able to conquer it. Now I want to show you something, for example. So in the past, we'd have a chart that would come up, and we'd say, okay, well, there's the daily, there's the weekly, and we could do another one of these. We could say, just simply go through here and say UPS, UPS, UPS. A lot of these, so you can see all the different time frames. Okay, and there's all the time frames. Runs pretty quickly. A lot of calculations going on here, but it's running very quickly, and we see that, okay, when we're looking at the daily, we're taking a long profit on that. Let's click that symbol. Okay, and that coincides, right? So we see that the orange on the daily, right here, the daily, coincides to our orange over here. So when we're looking at this, we see that this clearly matches this. So far, so good. Okay, now where it gets tricky is very difficult to really see what's actually happening. There's a limitation to the size of the workspace. Of course, we're looking at weekly. We can see that we're weekly long 2 bars. We look at this. We have a long alert, and there's our second bar. So we're basically long 2 bars. Now, let's take a look at the same situation, and let's go and take a look at what that looks like with regard to how it looks on the newer version of this, okay? So what we're going to do is let's switch over, and let me kind of move this over. This is where it comes really cool. Ready? Here we go. All right, let's wait for that switch. All right. Now, again, you can set this up. This is just a look at it from the way that we have an initial setup here. And you can set this up a lot of different ways, but I want you to see this. This is still in a little bit of the testing bench side of things, but I want to show you some of the features that we talked about. Now, a minute ago, we talked about how there was the overall vertical view of the autopilot. Now we got a horizontal view. I want to show you a couple things. So once again, we have symbol, okay? Now we have this active. This is something new. This active status means that the calculation has been made in the back end, and it is good. And that comes in handy, especially when you're loading a lot of symbols and has to do a lot of calculations. Here's your signal, 1. Again, remember, the first one's going to be 30 minutes. Always 30 minutes is the interval, and I'll show you this here on the right-hand side. Very important that your intervals are set for 30. They will not work. This will not work if, in fact, you have a interval that is set to anything other than 30. So what's nice about this is that you don't have to worry about, like we did before, switching around all the intervals, etc. Now what happens is we have the signal 1, 30-minute. This is set right now in the 30-minute bar, 20 bars long. Now you can see that coincides at the bottom. Now I have the words in there that I posted. That's a little bit of coding we did just to confirm this again on a testing basis, but long for 20 bars. Okay, then we have long for 10 bars on the next one, which is right here. Okay, then you have nothing. Signal 3. Now, the thing that we're really working on is, well, what is signal 1, what is signal 2, what is signal 3? And obviously, it'd be really nice if this would just simply say 30 minute, 60 minute, 240 minute, etc. Here's daily with a D, obviously, and here's a W with a weekly. The problem is that right now that it is not, Tradestation's RadarScreen is not able to take the user input and then put that and post that up here. So we have two choices. One choice is simply just hard code in 30, 60, 240, daily, and weekly. I don't think we're going to do that right now. We're leaving it open for you, and you'll know what your particular signals are in the settings, which we'll get to in a second. But you can see that this shows you all of this very nicely and how long it is. And what's nice is if you just look across here, you can see very quickly, hey, look, this is long, it's long. The longer time frame is long, daily is not, but you're seeing it start to pick up here. And if you kind of look at the longer term, you see the trend happening. That's where this all comes into play. Now notice, by the way, you're seeing that IBM and Caterpillar, right here, IBM and Caterpillar are starting to signal a short alert. Okay, there's a short alert on the 30. Now what's happening here is that IBM is coming down. You can see that there's a signal here. You have the red bar right here at 186, I guess it's 186.15 or so, and that is signaling a short alert. You're also seeing that, wait a minute, you're starting to get a short alert on the 60-minute as well. Hold on a second. We're getting a short alert on the 240 as well. Now we're starting to see something. The question is going to be, when do we get that signal on IBM if you're trading, for example, on a daily? Now, right now, you can see that we're out of this position right here. Now, one of the things we can do is, if we're in the Commander series, you can take a look at your, I don't want that. It's not what I want. Hold on a second. Okay, we can just look at, for example, the radar. Or we can look at, if we want to put on the altimeter, what we can see is where that's actually going to play out. Now, I would venture to say it's somewhere right about here because I can see where it actually went long before and no new bar was, no new altimeter has been handled here. So you have this, and then you see that in the radar you have a pretty good drop down to 140, 183, excuse me. Again, on IBM, there's no long position on a weekly. Now let's take a look at something, for example, like UPS. And watch, I want to show you, look how fast that loaded. Now that may not seem like a big deal to you, but there's a lot that just went into that calculation. The active, you see where it says active? The active shows that the calculation has been done and the calculation is ready and all across is calculated correctly. Right now on this, what you can see is, let's pull all these charts back a little bit. Let's kind of pull these all back. 30-minute. 60-minute, 240-minute, and here's your daily and your weekly. Okay, a little bit smaller, but you'll notice, okay, we see that we're long. For example, on UPS, let's see, we are here. Actually, we were long for 7 bars, and then it just came out today. See that? See the orange? You got a profit. So you moved in at about 96.45, and you took your profit about 98.99 on a daily basis. And what's interesting to note is that when you're looking at UPS, and again, when we back this up a little bit, you can see, hey, there's a hole there, and there was an opportunity really to get in. And right now, we're saying, you know what, let it rest for a little while, wait for the next breakout. When the next breakout comes, it could be a nice upside to about 101, 102. But the point here is, the beauty of this is that you have the ability to use this basically across on a horizontal basis now, rather than using this on simply the vertical basis. So it's very easy to see in what's happening and how things are developing. Now let's take a look at the settings here. Here's our settings. Let's move it to somewhere that's easy to look at. Okay, you see that? There's your settings. So right now I have, again, 30-minute is your basis. We have all the basic things set up in here. You can have alerts set up if you want, enable alert if something's going to happen, if you can see a breakout. Okay. Now this will be across the whole line. We'll show you the breaks, and the alerts will tell you. So you may be getting a lot of those, you know, if it starts moving in and out of a position. But let's change this, let's say, to 90. So we're going to change the secondary to 90. Okay. And let's kind of click that. You can see how quickly that changed things. Now this second signal is not going to coordinate with this 60 because it's a 90-minute, of course, okay? That's what we just set it to. But it very, very quickly does the calculation. And the reason why I say that, and I mean that seems like a big deal when you're used to seeing these things, is because there's an enormous amount of data going backwards in time that's actually being used to calculate this. The first one that we had of this, we needed 10,000 bars minimum to calculate this. Now it's actually, and I need to show you this, only about 100. You need to make sure that in the general area, I'm going to bring this over here so you see it very clearly. This is very important to look at. In the general area, okay, you see the general tab here of your format the indicator, okay? You leave it to auto detect, which will be set on, uptake your values intrabar, tick by tick, and load additional data for the accumulation of calculations. Very important that you have at least 101. We set it to 110. And the reason for that is we need to look back in time. We need to have at least that many to calculate all of the different parameters of the AutoPilot algorithm in order to do so. Now, if I was to actually take this off, I'd have a problem. This would not calculate correctly. It would just sit there and everything would either look strange or blank. So you need to make sure that you have this load additional data for accumulated calculations. And what's interesting is that you don't have to do this on a chart ever. There's no need to do this on a chart. But in RadarScreen, when you have very lengthy calculations that are recursive and that you have, for example, exponential moving averages over a period of time, you need to tell RadarScreen that you need to go backwards in time and tell me how long of a period you were looking at. And we've allowed this to go, we've actually compressed this and optimized this for only 110 bars, that's why it loads so quickly. Okay? Now, we can look at other things. For example, again, let's throw something in here. Watch what's happening. I'm just going to put this, I'm going to type it in. Okay. I'm going to wait. See how the active isn't lit yet? Active's not there yet. So it's taking a little bit of time because I never put this stock in the system before. There you go. It's active. Okay. So we got short alert, short alert. Okay. So you're seeing that on CHS. Clearly on the 30-minute, it's been short. It's been moving lower on the 60-minute. And we're starting to get a short alert here on the 240 and short alert on the daily and a confirmation. Now what you have here, this is very interesting. So what you have here now is a very good setup for a short, because not only are you seeing that the long term is breaking down, but you're clearly in a defined short over 14 bars on the 30-minute. And on a 60-minute, you're 8 bars short. In other words, it's been short for 8 bars on the shorter time frames. And now your other stocks that you're looking at, the other time periods you're looking at, is also starting to show up as a short. Now, you want to always lean towards the longer time frame, right? So you want to lean towards the right side of the radar screen to look for when those are going to be signaling something, and confirm those then also with the signals on the shorter time frames. So we're looking at this, and what we're finding is that there is a significant amount of confirmation across the entire horizontal for this stock. And I think that is a very good way for you to then identify when those short opportunities hold and when they present themselves. Then you can look further into the radar. You can look further into, okay, where is it positioned with the altimeter? Where is it positioned in terms of the overall autopilot historically, et cetera? Where is it in terms of a whole? Lots of things then you can look for further from this, but this gives you a great way to look at how this is building. Look up again at IBM, right in the middle there. You see we have short alert, short alert, short alert, right? So you see you're starting to build. The next one will probably be a daily short. So now you're getting ready, and you have a lot more of a period of time that you're able to find a opportunity to get into something. So now it's almost like a pre-warning, or it's a warning that, okay, IBM is short on the 30, it's short on the 60, it's short on the 240. You know what? If it breaks down and it goes down through the actual the daily, and it breaks down, wow, you know what? You have a confirmation right there that's pretty significant. And the longest term you have on there is the weekly. You know what? There is no signal right now. Okay? So very important to look at, very important to consider, and I think this really gives us a much greater level of overall ability to see this very clearly. Now, this can hold as many as you want, whether it's a stock, whether it's Forex, whether it's a future. This can hold whatever you want here. So I think that the basis of the newer style, we'll call it the horizontal, the multiple time frame, is very important to look at. Now, if there are questions, you can ask me questions, and I'll be happy to answer a few of these on here. I want to go through some other things that some people have asked about, though, when it comes to the Commander Series, which some of that information is not going to be as important because we're going to have the alerts and all that are happening here in terms of the new way of looking at things through the latest multiple time frame RadarScreen, the AutoPilot. But what's really interesting is that it will have pretty much this is pretty much as high grade as you get, and I think as as professional as you can get in terms of being able to find a professional grade market profile based volume at time system that now gives you everything that you need. And really, in a nutshell, this one workspace that you have right in front of you gives you everything that you need to scan, sort, look at what's happening with any of the particular positions, and then make some decisions. Do you like it? Can I get a couple of people telling me what they think about this? Some comments, questions, anything? At ES. So Leo, at ES, please. Are signals in sync? Leo, can you give me a little bit more about that? At ES is the generic S&P 500 mini futures, and when you're using any of the products that we have, okay, this is very important. Any of the products that we are showing you ever, you do not use the individual current dated future. You use the generic futures because you want to get all the back data that rolls over so that we can utilize that to give you the best signal. So when I do click on this, for example, watch what happens. When I click on this, or if I hover over it, actually better. I think this will work. There it is. That's the March 2014 contract. Can you see that? So what's really nice is that this gives you a consolidation of the ES. This gives you all of that right inside of one package. And if in fact you used the March contract, right? So if you use for example, if you were to use the ESH14, which is the March contract for this, the problem is that only has a short life. It doesn't go back in history. It just goes, whatever, last few months. The problem with that is that you're not getting all the volume data. You're not getting all the things on the move and the roll. So therefore, it really doesn't work very well. So hopefully that answers that question right there. Yep, Mark Dillard, good. So Mark asks, okay, Mark, you ask, how could you use it for day trading? Well, right here for day trading is two different things. So let's not get confused between day trading and scalping. Okay, day trading, I'm going to consider that it's not a minute by minute deal. None of our indicators are good for less than 30 minutes. Don't even try to use them. In fact, I just don't even see the wisdom in utilizing any market-based profile in that very, very short period of time, okay? And the thing is that when you're looking at this, you could find very easily, here's, short opportunities. I mean, here's a short opportunity right here. You could utilize that. You could see if you just want to focus on, let me give you something of interest here that may be moving. I'm looking. I'm trying to find. I mean, this may move. I don't know if this is going to move right now. There's some news out on two things. This is halted. HLF is halted right now, okay? And we'll see what happens. But take a look at this, okay? This is starting to move. It's starting to reverse. It's probably based on the news of HLF that's happening right now. And what you would do here is, okay, you're long for 7 bars, long for 3 bars, short profit. You're starting to see there was a short profit that was taken here. Obviously, yesterday it took probably right about here. Well, you can look at this and you can see that there is the potential for something to be happening here, and you're going to get a signal. Now, right now, it is long on this new skin. long on the 30-minute, long on the 60-minute, and you're out of it. Otherwise, there is a daily long that is happening. What I would do is wait for this to break out. Well, right now it is already broken out, but you would have had that earlier today. I mean, you would have been in 312, 10:30 in the morning. You would have been in 76.55. This called for a long. Right now, from 76.55 up to, what is it, 80 and a half right now, you'd be in. You'd have a 9% gain on that. And, you'd have to now figure out when we're going to see that turn. Now, if this does start coming in, the news is negative on HLF, that may spill over into New Skin and a couple of the other similar types, which I hope it will, only because, just for a moment, we disclosure, we own both of these stocks, by the way. We will see that you'll see that this will start breaking. So, for example, you're long here, you'll probably see the 30-minute first do something different if this does come in, okay? And I'm going to actually insert analysis technique, and let's put this on here. Okay, you have a long way to go. We have a really long way to go. You have to actually build a new altimeter. Here's the altimeter down here, up here. So right now, it's not going to, no matter what happens, probably it's not going to break down through there. But you know what? This would be the way to do it. You look at whether it's the futures or whether it is the, what do you got? VHC. Sure, VHC. Let's see. Let's move a lot today. Let's just have this all come up. It's waiting for the data because now I'm loading a lot of things here, right? So VHC. VHC is moving. It's down 3.5%. Vimetex X Holding Corporation. You can see that there was a short signaled this morning. It kind of been choppy around on the 30, but clearly this is a defined downtrend here on the 60. On the 240 is still in a downtrend. You got this signal on the 240 back on 3.7 on a short 18. Now it's at 14. You got the signal here. On 311 yesterday in the afternoon, and you're short here, clearly short on the daily, dropping off the cliff on the weekly. So that's kind of interesting. So you can see that across, right, the 30 minutes is going to jump around a lot more than the 60 minutes. 60 minutes is going to jump a lot more than the 240 minute. The 240 is going to jump a lot more than the daily, and the daily is going to jump a lot more and around than the weekly, right? Does that make any sense? Okay. So the bottom line on what's happening here is that you're getting a nice consistent move. Now, the next move here, this is what I would do with VHC. I have short, 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 short. So I'm going to define downtrend on a weekly. We know that. Two weeks it's been on the short side. I'm going to define downtrend on the daily. Clearly, 4 days it's been on the downside, 240, etc. If I start seeing that my 30-minute starts popping up into a long position, okay, we'd have to go above about maybe 15 and change here, right? 16, I guess. If it starts moving above that and we see that the 60 minutes starts breaking off, I would start looking to take my profit on my daily. That makes sense? You'd actually start going reverse of that. So you know you're in a short position on a long period. Maybe you start taking profit if this thing starts breaking up to the upside. If. There's a lot of ifs there. Now, New Skin's moving around pretty well here, all over the place. There you go. There you go. Long profit out. There you go. Dropping off a cliff. So obviously something's going on with Herbalife. There was either that there's investigation probably, that's probably the news coming out. There's an investigation probably going on into the multi-level marketing thing that's going on. Something's happening. It just dropped about 4% from where it was. And you'll notice that instantaneously you're out. So you could have have your setting somewhere when that came out and probably been out somewhere over here. I don't know if that's halted now. That could be halted too now. Yep, that's halted. New Skin is halted. Both of these are halted. Well, it makes for a lot of fun for the afternoon, doesn't it, gang? But you can see that would have told you, and you would have given you a signal to possibly just move out of that position. And again, they're both halted right now, so we're not getting any kind of ticks on this at all. But when you look at this and you want to do this for day trading, you use this on the shorter periods, okay? So there's also, Marlo says that you have the Commander Series and the Avalanche. How do I configure the AutoPilot and RadarScreen? One thing that's really important to know, this is really important, that if you have the Commander Series and if you have AutoPilot, it has to be the AutoPilot for RadarScreen that you're using as the indicator in RadarScreen. And this is very important, you have to subscribe to RadarScreen. If you do not and you're just using the quote panel, you'll get a lot of the information, but unfortunately, you will not get a full version of this. It will be kind of a smaller kind of very basic views of this, and you can't change a lot of things, okay? News is out, by the way, about Herbalife. Charlie Gasparino is reporting that FTC hits HLF with a civil investigation demanding official investigation has begun. That's the Federal Trade Commission. And we've seen this before, by the way, on this. I mean, this is not, what they were considering looking at. But interesting watching these stocks only because it's so involved with some of the big names like Whitney Tilson and some of these other guys, Ackerman and all that, and Soros. Where do you get out of the 30-minute bar? And you said, well, on New Skin, you would have been out if you had it set. You would have been. Let me just look here. Short profit, long exit 80.18. That's where you would have acted. But you probably would have, if you want to know that honestly, you probably would have hit it about 79 change if you can get out before the halt stopped. The signal came in and you would have hit it. You would have been an alert that came up. It would have beeped you, hey, move out, and then you're done. And you see that VHC is starting to move. Look what we have here. Now all of a sudden on the short, look at this. This is exactly what I was talking about before. You're starting to see that build a little bit. There's a new altimeter that was built. Now, this is not the end of the day, and this is not this is not the final on this because the day is not done. But the bottom line is you're starting to see all of a sudden that short went to a short profit. Take your money out. That's potentially look to get out of that situation. Okay. So anyway, that gives you the whole overall flavor of this. You can go, I think that if you don't have this, you can go over to the trading app store over at Tradestation, of course. And what you can do is you can get if you don't have it already, if you want, you can get a trial of this. Well, not of this, but a trial of the Commander Series, and you'll have this available very shortly. So anyway, take a look at that. Let me know if you have any questions, and the replay will be available later on this afternoon over on TriggerCharts.com. Thanks a lot for joining me, and we're going to have these coming up, and make sure to check back regularly. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.